I've played over 21 hours of XDefiant since its release a few weeks back, and I thought it'd be worth me coming forward with just where I stand on the game and how I think it stacks up against some of its competitors in the FPS genre. Obviously, I'm going off the back of playing Battlefield and Battlefield 2042 more recently, but I think XDefiant falls a lot more into the arcade shooter style of a Call of Duty and that kind of category, which I'll hold my hands up and say I haven't played in a very long time. With that being said, here's some reasons why I do think XDefiant is really standing out in the space right now. The elephant in the room does need addressing first though, and that's no SBMM or skill-based matchmaking in XDefiant, which arguably makes it one of the coolest shooters around right now. For those of you who don't know, SBMM is meant to pair you with players of a similar skill level to keep things fair and competitive, but honestly, this can be pretty frustrating for most players. Every match feels super intense, really sweaty, and you're constantly having to work hard to do well. Plus, it can take a little bit longer to find a match because the system's busy finding players at your specific skill level. Obviously, XDefiant skips all that in the standard unranked modes. You end up facing a wider range of opponents, some matches are going to be easier, some are going to be harder, and that ultimately keeps the game more interesting. It's really fun to sometimes go up against someone way better than you and try hold your own, or maybe dominate a match when you're the top dog. Having a mixed skill setup like this makes the game feel a bit more fun and sometimes more relaxed, but it is pretty sweaty in XDefiant at the moment, I can't lie. For me though, it does bring back the vibe of older FPS games like the original Call of Duties, where you never really knew what to expect in a match, and unpredictability was a big part of the excitement of playing the game. Number 2 in that list is the engaging movement mechanics. Movement is a big deal in any shooter because it affects how you get around, avoid being shot, and position yourself in gunfights. And I think XDefiant has really done well in terms of building a system that feels quite smooth and responsive. Of course, the staples like sliding, sprinting, crouching, etc. are all within XDefiant, but the speed at which you can move and jump strafe makes it so much more fun to move around the maps, and you can keep constantly on your toes. These mechanics also allow you to be a bit more strategic and also more nuanced in how you play the game. And for me, it does make the game feel different in every battle, gunfight you get into, a bit more exciting because you are moving in a different way than I'm used to, at least playing the games that I typically play. This is a really good blend into the overall fast-paced nature of the game. I think it's really just fun to dash around, jump around, and ultimately be able to dodge opponents in a way that you can't typically do in other games. The third thing to note is the use of Ubisoft IPs for their class system. Each faction or class in the game is inspired by characters from various Ubisoft games, and they all come with their own unique abilities or faction abilities. This means you get to play as characters with distinct playstyles and skills, which adds another layer of strategy and excitement to the game. Obviously, taking cues from Splinter Cell, Ghost Recon, The Division, and Far Cry for example, it does add a fun but familiar element to a lot of the players who may have played these other franchises, but also makes the class system feel more impactful when you're actually playing the game. To be fair to Ubisoft, I think they've done pretty well here to leverage their back catalogue of games, and it does give XDefiant a bit of a unique twist that you won't find in the likes of a Valorant or an Apex Legends, who don't have that back catalogue. Lastly, I do think the maps and map design in XDefiant is top notch. The game feels vibrant and the maps feel really well designed. Not only are they great for gameplay, but they're also really visually appealing, with each having their own distinct look and feel, and plenty of variety, at least at this stage in the game. Particularly on the larger scale modes like Escort, there's a mixture of open spaces and tight corridors, and enough verticality as well that keeps the action quite dynamic. Again, particularly in those larger scale modes, the maps do cater to a variety of different playstyles, and ultimately that really affects the makeup of your team versus the enemy's team, and also again brings that class system to the forefront. To be fair though, it's not been all sunshine and rainbows for me, and I would like to bring a couple of things to mention which may sort of drop XDefiant down in my estimation. First off, one of the major issues that I and I know other players have encountered within XDefiant is its netcode. Poor netcode can lead to a lot of missed shots and overall frustrating experience where it feels like you're getting shot round corners, which I do feel on a regular basis at the moment, and does sort of detract from the enjoyment of the game as a whole. And I think until this issue is addressed, some players are going to find this game a lot less fun than maybe a Call of Duty in a similar fashion. Alongside this, the balancing of some of the factions' abilities really does need some work. Sonar goggles and Spiderbot, for example, have been noted, and I've definitely seen it to be overpowered, disrupting the overall balance of the game as a whole. They can dominate the overarching meta of the game and make the game feel a bit less fair for newer players coming in. Balancing these abilities is going to be crucial for maintaining a fun environment, but also a competitive one, so hopefully the developers will get on that relatively quickly. This might be a bit of a more personal gripe for me though, but there is a lack of game modes for me in XDefiant right now. I know there are other game modes coming down the pipeline like Search and Destroy, but I'm not a big Search and Destroy guy. I never was back in COD either, so it's probably not going to be a mode I'm going to dabble with too much. Again, that's a very short-term issue, and I know it will be rectified moving forward, but as of right now, I do get a little bit bored just playing the same modes over and over again. Overall for me though, XDefiant definitely stands out in the current FPS landscape. I have to give Ubisoft credit, they've tried to do something slightly different to the standard formula, and overall I think they've done a pretty good job. Does it really topple the likes of a Call of Duty or, dare I say it, Battlefield? I'll be honest, no, not at all. And equally, the game has to show significant longevity to be even in with a shout of getting in there with the big boys, so to speak. What I must say though, is that the Ubisoft developers and XDefiant have come out swinging, and they clearly do want to listen to the community, really push forward with changes and improvements, and show that XDefiant has a lot to offer in the space. Is it going to keep me playing for the long haul? I can't really say with a lot of confidence that it will, but I'm certainly playing it a lot at the moment, and I think it's worth giving a go for you too. If you've watched this far, thanks so much for checking out my video. Look out for more XDefiant content and streams coming in the near future. As always though everyone, appreciate your time, thanks very much for watching, and I'm sure I'll catch you all in the next one.